1. This kid has been fixated on getting a lighter for months, and I guess he finally stole one from someone or somewhere. He's between 9 and 10 years old and is a lot for his dad. I can tell this from their interactions, as well as that his dad cares about him. His dad is a regular at my store, and is a really nice and polite guy. It feels genuine, and his wife is a sweet person. Yesterday, the kid ran back into the store, and I assumed he was looking for something for Dad. I watched casually, but didn't follow him, which I regret now. Then he walks to the door, shrugs, and I figure, oh, we didn't have what Dad was asking for. No, only for me to smell something burning a couple of minutes later. I began looking around, figuring it was maybe the biker bar across the street. Then I found it. A bag of Welch's that had burned into a 12-pack of Diet Dr. Pepper. I think what upsets me the most about this is we're a gas station, and if the building is on fire, it would explode and take out the whole block. I work in a small town full of nice but redneck country folk who just go on about their days working hard. This was not a worry I was expecting to have to deal with all the other crap I deal with from corporate. The fact our AC is out also this week, I was angry. Later, management came back with footage and noticed the kid try to light multiple fires in different locations. He apparently would move spots once me or someone else looked at that area. He was really fast about it, and it was clear he knew what he was doing is wrong. Corporate wants to press charges, but I'm not sure what will happen. At this exact moment, the child is banned from the property. I was told this could be considered an act of domestic terror by the government. Update 2. I had a conversation with the kid's father and made him aware of the situation. He seemed taken aback by the fact that his son did what he did in such a short amount of time. He paid for the things he burnt, took photos of it, and left his contact info. It seems like he wants to allow corporate to press charges if they deem fit. He told me his son was committed last year, didn't say why, and he believes he's a good kid deep down, just struggling internally. I made it very clear to the father the reality of what and how the child did this. I let him know this is something that should be heavily addressed going forward with his son. His wife came by later with the child, and the child apologized for his actions. Do I believe him? Honestly, I don't know. I'm sure his parents encouraged it. I tried my best to be firm and very clear about the situation to the child. I let him know that if he's feeling thoughts that are bad or about harming others, he needs to communicate that to his family. I made certain the child knew he will be spending his adulthood in prison if he ended up actually burning the place up. I let him know he's banned from the location, and I told him that he hurt my trust in him. I try to cultivate trust with children I interact with, and not just treat them like they're stupid and incapable of understanding like some adults. I genuinely, more than anything, just hope this child can move past his interest in fire healthily. Yet we all know that is not always the case. I hope he can go down a different path in life than it looks like he's headed. That's all we have right now. If charges are to get pressed, I will be the first to post about it. 2. I'm still in shock that it happened. I've been mistaken for an employee at many various times in my life, and a few of those times have been worse than this, but this one ranks pretty high on my WTF list. About an hour ago, I snagged a ride to the gas station near my house because I was hit with a pregnancy craving for chips. Uneventful, 5-ish minute ride, and I got a particularly nice Uber driver who said to take my time. She was marking me dropped off, so I would only be charged for part of the ride, and she'd take me home free of charge. So the adventure started off nice. Go inside the gas station, and am standing in front of the chips, trying to decide how many bags I can buy without my husband getting miffed at me spending too much money. Don't worry, he doesn't actually get mad. I probably look like I'm carrying twins because this child is already well above the average size. Lucky me. So I know I take up a good chunk of real estate wherever I'm standing. After a minute or two, I hear someone clearing their throat. I automatically figure I'm in the way, so I say, "Excuse me," and step back to let what I now see to be a 40-something-year-old woman pass. Again, let me remind y'all we're in a gas station, not a supermarket, or any sort of store where you'd think to see employees in the aisles. Heck, there really aren't many aisles. Anyway, she doesn't walk by, so I started to move to the end of the aisle. Figure she didn't have enough room to comfortably get by. But is it ever that easy? She stepped forward and asked where I was going. I replied I was moving out of her way, to which she responds with saying I can't just walk away, she needed help. That stumped me. Help as in... So I ask just that. She fires back with, "I've seen spicy lime lays here before, so I want to know when you'll get more, or if they're in a different spot." Now, I realize what's going on. I tell her I don't work there, but apparently that wasn't the correct answer. Instead of, "Oh, I'm sorry," or even just a rude stomping away, she says, "I've seen you here before. Just because you're pregnant doesn't mean you can't help a customer." Obviously, she was going to stick with that, so I walked back, grabbed a few bags of chips, and walked to the next aisle to see if I wanted anything else. I heard a few "excuse me's" after that, but just ignored her. Paid, waddled outside. However, much like late-night TV during the 90s, but wait, there's more. I don't know if this woman wasn't willing to admit she was wrong or seriously thought she wasn't wrong, but she decided the obviously next appropriate action was to follow me out. I went to open the car door and this squawking loca puts her hand on the car door, making to shut it. Proceeds to tell me I can't just walk away from a customer asking a question. If you're wondering where the actual clerk is, well, so was I at this point. I honestly could not believe this was happening. Hell, I still can't believe it happened. Thankfully, like I mentioned, I'd gotten a pretty awesome Uber driver. She popped out of the car and asked if I was okay. Karen shoots off that she wasn't talking to her. But before I could say anything else, driver says, "Well, now you're talking to me. Get the hell away from her in my car before I come over there and slap you so hard you won't remember how to talk." I'm not entirely sure if that made Karen realize I wasn't an employee, or if it just scared her enough to make her find a different employee. But she hustled to a vehicle a few spots over and got in her car. I got back in the Uber and we watched her leave. Guess she forgot about her chips. After making sure I was all right, the Uber driver and I had a pretty good laugh on the way back to my house. She still wouldn't even accept a tip from me, but I sneakily tipped her in the app after she drove off so she couldn't argue. Honestly, I'm waiting for people to show up so everyone claps, but I still can't fully believe that this event happened, especially at a gas station convenience store, and not even a big one. It wasn't even the size of a 7-Eleven, so what in the world made her assume a woman in a sundress? The employees of this chain of stations wear a turquoise polo. Who just so happened to be standing in front of the chips was an employee. And why continue bullheading forward after being told I don't work there, then not just walking away, but purchasing items and leaving the store? Times like this, I am truly stumped as to these people's thought process. Part of me really wants to know what they're thinking that leads them to this insane behavior. But the other part of me knows I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. At least I got my chips. 3. So many lifetimes ago, worked for a pizza chain. There's also an old-school tabletop group game with blue shirts. At the time, anyway. Later, I worked at a rival pizza chain that is named after a small dwelling with red or black shirts. I still have my entire uniform from the first place. Anyway, I was called in to do an opening shift after I had closed the previous night, so I decided a little malicious compliance was in order. But not overly malicious, as my GM was also my sister. What do? I'm sure you can guess from the previous paragraph. Yep, I showed up in my old uniform. Whole thing, shirt, hat, even my old name tag. We get through all the opening routine, and she never notices. We open, and I'm working front register for our few carryouts we have that early. I check out a few people, and still no one notices. Finally enters our first apparently totally awake customer. Coincidentally, my GM is doing a cash count at the front when this happens. The woman looks at me for a few seconds, then looks around, basically confirming what store she walked into, then asks the question that has escaped everyone up till this point. Hi. Hi, welcome to Tiny House Pizza Store. Okay, so I am at Tiny House Pizza Store? Sure are. Obviously, I am prepared for this, since I know she's confused by my uniform. So, do you work here? My GM looks up. Yeah, she does? Okay, I wasn't sure. What? Crying out loud, really, OP? I finally couldn't take it. I lost it. The look on my sister's face was only second to just the sheer confusion on this poor customer's face. She had to finish the transaction because I had to go sit down. At this point, I couldn't breathe. Then the absolute done-with-your-nonsense look she had when she came back to the manager station has been one of my best memories. It was half done with me, but half disbelief that we spent several hours together that morning and she never noticed. Although I always wonder if that customer ever thinks about the most confusing pizza purchase she's likely ever experienced. If it lives rent-free in her head like it does mine. In case you were wondering, no, I had nothing better to do with my life at that time, because I was insanely tired and also needed the overtime. Also, yes, I still have the first uniform. They even have a car topper, but they don't have to know that. Four. This just happened today, and it was the weirdest crap ever. I work in a salon where we only do cuts. We had been closed for the past 10 to 15 minutes as I was doing the count on the till. The sign was off to show we were closed, and my coworker Jess was sitting nearby as I did the till. Then we see this Jeep pull up and park right in front. We're thinking it might be a coworker, but it wasn't. It was kind of creepy since it's pitch black dark and the salon door wasn't locked. We normally don't lock it since most times customers don't go in if we know we're closed. This lady pops out and says through the door, "Are you closed?" I said yes, while shaking my head. She walks in saying, "Oh, well, I just need to buy a brush. I know you're closed." My coworker says, "We don't sell brushes, and we can't have you in the salon." She says in a nice, firm tone, "It's mainly because we have money out and for safety." "Okay, ma'am, I'm going. I was just asking a question." But she still tells her, "Okay, I'm just saying we don't sell brushes and can't have you in the salon." This lady gets very angry, like it's the end of the world. "Jeez, you are so rude. If you were closed, you should have locked the door. By the way, I recorded this and I'm posting it on Facebook." She was still yelling this as she had the entrance door open. She left, and I locked the door right after her. We think she was lying and on drugs because she could have went anywhere for a brush, since most stores are open late. I don't think she recorded anything because she would have had to look down to press the record button. That was the craziest experience I've had when closing. Hellfreezer's note, I do hope she really wasn't recording, although she could certainly have hit the button as she walked in the store, before she walked in the store, possibly for the purpose of having a conflict, so she could post it on social media. But she doesn't sound like a very nice person, so I don't imagine she's got much of a following, so I doubt you have anything to worry about. Also, this story was sent to me on the 10th of September 2019, so sorry it took a bit to get to it, and thank you very much. 5. My work had a system for the markdowns. They put them in shopping carts by the first 3 aisles so more people see them. Then, after a while, they could move to the aisle they belong in, towards the back of the store. I had just gotten off a shift. My apron was in my backpack, but I was still wearing my company's personal shopper shirt. I had noticed some baking items in the discount basket, and I was digging through it when I heard a little, "Excuse me." I look up out of habit and see this 6 or 7-year-old little boy standing in front of me. "You work here, right?" I replied, "Yeah, what's up?" I was afraid it was a lost kid situation. "I need your help finding something." Where's your mom?" He points behind us to a lady looking at the meat service counter. "She said that I could get a toy, but I don't know where they are." "Oh, I can show you." So I walk him down to the kids' aisle on the other side of the store. I don't want to leave him alone, so I ask if he's looking for a specific toy. He describes a stretchy shark toy, so I help him start looking. After a few minutes, I hear behind me, "What the hell do you think you're doing?" I whip around like a child caught eating pie before dinner. The lady who he pointed out was standing behind us. I had a flash of entitled parent stories running through my head. But the boy pipes up, "I want a toy." The mother grabs him by the shoulders. "What did I tell you about talking to strangers? And then you disappeared and I turned around and you were walking away with someone." "But they work here." She looks up at me and I sheepishly wave. She gives a relieved sigh. "I'm sorry my son bothered you. I've been trying to teach him stranger danger lately." "It's not a problem. Have a great night." I went back to my shopping and had a nice little story to tell my coworkers the next day. Hey everybody, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to Adventures in Fast Food and Retail, episode 208. And thank you very much to everybody who allowed me to use their stories in this video. Before you go, I would appreciate it if you hit the like button and share the video with friends and family, and anyone you think might enjoy it. And if you'd like early access to the videos, you can support me on my Patreon page, which helps me, it helps the channel, and it helps us keep doing this for as long as we can. That's linked in the description, for as little as $1 or more a month. As a thank you for your support, you get all the videos on a Monday, all at once. You'll also find a link in there to the Hellfreezer merchandise store on Teespring, as well as the Hellfreezer Discord. And if you liked today's video, why not leave a tip? Do that by clicking on the heart with a $sign underneath the video player. And while that is not required and none of that is required, I very much do appreciate it. And thank you kindly. Okay, I don't think we have any other bits and bobs today, so let's move right along to Hellfreezer's question of the day. And today's question is there a word that you pronounce in what would be considered an unusual but still correct manner? I say that because one of the stories we just heard there used the word turquoise, and that's the way I'd always heard it until I was listening to an audiobook. It was one of the Anno Dracula books narrated by William Gaminara, who's a very skilled, very, very erudite and intelligent man, so he knows what he's doing, especially with the English language. Pronounce it turquoise, which I have heard other people pronounce since then, so it is indeed a correct alternate pronunciation, but was very unusual to my ears until that point. I myself remember people used to be quite annoyed whenever I would say schedule, which is the correct way for me to say it. Schedule is also correct, so I actually took great delight in the same video. Depending on who was talking, I would alternate between pronunciations. If I was doing an American character, it would be schedule. If I was talking as myself or a British character, it would be schedule. And I think they just gave up trying after that point. So why don't you leave your answers in a comment below, if you have any. And before we go, let's have the answer of the day from a previous video. And this was about how much pastry do you need on top of a pie before you can consider it a tart. And this answer is from Jenna Gets Creative. That was 10 months ago. This is from Fast Food and Retail 176. I also prefer my pies fully covered. Apple, pumpkin, strawberry, peaches, and cream, blueberry, all good pies. My husband prefers crumble on top instead. Good choice. And no, it's gotta be pastry. Thank you very much for your answer. Jenna gets creative.